Anyone who isn't able to join us can get the recording. We have a small crowd today. I was just saying, I think some people are on spring break and on vacation. I've been getting a lot of out of office responses, sending emails this week. So I didn't have anything submitted as far as anything anyone wants to talk about, although I did make a list of things. But first I'll open it up to you all. Is there anything that you would like to talk about today? Any questions or challenges that you're having, or anything that's going really amazing?
I have a question on that. I think you sent something out about the um, MDU cable, bulk cable legislation.
Yes,
Um, is there, I think that was a call to action, if I remember.
it was.
Um, do you have any like heat on that, or is it just still? Um,
I haven't heard anything since the call to action went out from Dawn. I know that I saw an email back to her and she said just have people reach out to their legislators right now. So I think that's where we are, but I haven't heard anything additional.
so in our chapter here in Florida, Cox Communications is a big player, and we have a bulk account with them, and it's very large. It's one of their largest in the Southeast. So I spoke with them yesterday. I sent that to them actually, and they said, funny you sent that because our legal team, I guess they have monthly meetings with all their leadership, but they were talking about that, and they said, I said, well, we're a resource if we can help you. And they said, of course, all the big players are in the middle of it. But the funny thing that came out of that was they're a member of our chapter and one of our sponsors. And they said, well, this is a good way to solidify our relationship in the future because you guys can attack this from the private sector. The end users, where, we can be your partners or you can be our partners from the corporate side. So anyway, I told them if they need to get a hold of Dawn, if we could, they have lobbyists as well, so if we could help them out. I thought that was pretty cool. But the way she tied it into being a member of the chapter, I thought was pretty cool because I didn't even think of it that way.
Yeah, yeah, and definitely, if you feel like you should reach out to Dawn, feel free. I'm sure, she would be glad to hear from you on that. You could let her know you had that conversation. And then, we just encourage you all at the chapter level to, I know it went to members, but, blast that out to members. It's like an engagement tool. Members especially love to be engaged, in the advocacy piece of things. So, definitely send that out too. Thanks for bringing that up, Tom.
The other thing, I guess I'm just going to be the one talking, but the other thing that the legislative update that you sent out today that I was communicating with you on, I didn't know that on the advocacy page of the national website, they had that list where you go to each state and see what. I didn't know that was there, so that was pretty cool. So we probably should promote that to the chapters.
Yeah, absolutely. I will put in the chat what Tom's talking about. We have a really great advocacy tool on our advocacy page that is you could search for bills and things that are going on in your particular state. Funny enough, our Florida one was actually linked to Wisconsin. So the Wisconsin page probably got a lot of action from Florida folks, but I'll put that there. Wyoming.
Yeah.
So this is a really good piece to share at the chapter level too, and make yourself aware of it. What else? What else is going well in your chapters? It's trade show season, I know. How many of you have trade shows so far? Any? Yeah, they've gone well.
Yeah, it went very well. I don't know what the attendance was, but it was well received. Of course, it's a smaller one. It's not like the big South Florida ones, but
yeah,
had some training and some speakers and some really good stuff. So
good. Chris, you guys had yours too, right?
Yep, we had ours in February. It was wonderful. In fact, I talked with some vendors today that were there. Unfortunately, we had a fire at my condominium last night, so where I live. So we had 500 people out and displacement. So a few of the vendors were out doing some restoration and mitigation process today.
Oh my
But
gosh, Chris, I'm so
but we
sorry.
were talking about the expo though, which was ironic.
Maybe
But
something to take your mind off of the fire that's happening.
but
Wow.
no,
Yeah.
yeah, we're looking forward to the national event. We've got, I think, about 30 people from Minnesota coming, with possibly 10 to 15 more. So,
That's
uh,
incredible.
yeah, was it 5, 6 years ago? We had like four.
How'd
So,
you do that? What do you attribute that to?
some of the companies have gone national, and then a lot of our management companies are sending more. So we're excited, and we have a state dinner there, which we try to get almost everybody to come to the dinner, and that'll be fun.
Yeah, that Kelly was telling me about that. That's pretty neat.
Mhm.
Are any of you, anyone else going to annual conference on the call? I know you guys aren't required as presidents to do the training again, but
I'm going.
you're going, Kathy,
Yeah.
Tom's
Yeah.
going. Chris, you going?
Yes.
Awesome. Good. One thing I do encourage you, Chris, I know that you said that you're getting your, people together. The chapter executive directors, well, you all can see a list of the attendees on the conference website. We definitely encourage you, like I encourage the chapter executive directors to reach out to the people who are attending, and at the very least get a picture together, or kind of save seat. It's fun to kind of save seats and sit by each other, that sort of thing. It's a good builds morale with the chapter and helps build those relationships.
I'll put a link in the chat of how to get to that. You do need to be logged in to get to it, but yeah, I'll put a link for you all in there.
Thanks, Crystal. So speaking of that, I just wanted to ask you guys to encourage your president-elects to, take part in as much as they can at annual conference. I hope that you guys, when you attend, got a lot out of it. So they do, are required to do the training on Wednesday and Thursday, but we'll also be having the chapter leader lounge Thursday and Friday. You all are welcome to attend that, and the president-elects, of course, and chapter executive director. So if you could put in a plug just to, encourage them to do as much as they could, as well as take their PE training online. Because we have some required modules on there as well. So if you could put in a good word for that stuff, encourage them to do that, that would be awesome. How about your boards? How's everything going with the board functions of the chapter? Any really big successes as far as everyone working together? Any challenges you want to talk about?
I can share with ours. I feel like we've got a strong board this year. A lot of participation. We just had a spring fling last night. That was for our vendors. One of my big things is I tell everyone, being in the management side, I can't do my job without my vendors. And so I've been wanting, since I've been on the board, for there to be something that recognizes them. This past luncheon, we actually, instead of drawing business cards from managers and giving them a free lunch, we gave a business partner a free lunch, and they really liked that. With the spring fling last night, the prizes that were drawn from those prizes were from the management companies, and only vendors won them. So it was a little switch from everything that's been done in the past, and it was really exciting to see how much the vendors appreciated being recognized, because they do so much for our chapter. But a lot of committee member participation, and even had some coming up wanting to know how they could get involved, which has been lacking, I think, on our side. So
That's fantastic, Juanita. Thank you for sharing that. That's great. Yeah, I think, a lot of times their business partners are just like this, as far as sponsors asking for sponsorship and things like that. And so to give back to them, I think is fantastic. Thanks for sharing. What else? What's going well on your boards, or any challenges you'd like to get some input on from your colleagues?
Well, hello everybody. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead then.
Hey, Zinzi, go ahead.
Hey, here in Northeast Florida, we are very heavy on our business partner membership. So I really only had like 2 or 3 goals for the year. And one of them was to increase volunteer leader and manager participation. So we're trying to think outside of the box and just do some things differently than we had previously. And can you guys still hear me? I think you all look frozen, or am I frozen?
We can hear you though.
Oh, okay. So just getting a lot of pushback from the board on wanting to do things differently. I keep getting this, well, in the past we've tried this and it didn't work. And I'm like, well, how long ago was that? And I'm like, we can't expect new and different things if we're still doing the same thing we've always done. And I've been able to use my power of persuasion to kind of get them to see my side for a couple events, but it definitely is a struggle. Just trying to get them on board. So, and I don't want to alienate anyone. Trying to be very sensitive to listening to everybody's opinions. And I think too, because my role, yes, I'm a manager, and it took another board member to kind of bring this up, and I never thought about it before, is that, I work for Lennar Homes. I'm a manager member, but I'm not in a position where I am trying to get business from either a board, a volunteer leader, or a manager. Normally people are trying to get business from me. So whereas I can kind of speak a little bit more freely, or I'm not as concerned about stepping on a relationship as they are. I'm just trying to, temper myself so that I'm not in the meeting like I am at Lennar, where, again, everybody's normally wooing me. I'm not wooing everybody else. So taking into consideration that, they're very sensitive to their relationships with the business partners and the volunteer leaders and each other, because they're all kind of in business together, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Thanks for sharing that, Zinzi. Anyone have any feedback for Zinzi? Have you been through that at all? Or want to share anything?
We kind of have the, I don't know, I won't say opposite, but we have a new executive director that stepped in and hit the ground running, and she's trying to change those old attitudes of, we've done it this way forever and it works, and stay out of my playground and we'll do it. And navigating those waters as president has been interesting. She's pushing through it, and I think they're kind of starting to warm up to the fact. And I actually saw financials this morning, and she's doing a pretty good job. So if that's the byproduct of the frustration between the committees and the executive director, then I'm okay with that byproduct. I can work through that. So
Change is hard. It's hard. It's scary for people. Changes, know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But we've had, since I've taken over president, here's an interesting little piece of information. We've had 3 of our board member business partners have left their companies. So it's like, okay, you left and you're going to get another job, but is that job going to be with a business partner or not? So 2 of the 3 have went back to be with business partners. So that's been a blessing. We haven't had to change, but I don't know why. I don't know if it's just the region here in the panhandle of Florida, or I don't know what it is, but.
Tom, question for you on the change aspect with your CED is, you also mentioned seeing the financials and that was a good byproduct of the change. Are you using that data to communicate back to the committees and the board, like, see this change is working, or like, how are you working through that?
Good question, Crystal, and if you'll ask me tomorrow afternoon, I might have an answer
Okay.
for you. because-
Next month you can report back.
Yeah, we have a board meeting tomorrow, and that's one of the things that I'm going to bring up when we review those is, look, here's, because it's year to year comparison. So look, here's where 23 was in January, and look where we're at. This year we're in the black, last year we were in the red. So, and it's not all because the board and committees have done a good job. I think the executive director has been quietly driving that. So, it was a pleasant thing to see this morning when I got that report.
Awesome.
But thanks, Crystal. I'll email you tomorrow and let you know.
Yeah, no, I'm just curious for this group because, we've had maybe not exactly these people on this call, but we've had several executive director changes over the past couple of years. And I know there's, with any change, obviously people struggle, right? So if you can put some data behind the change is good, I'm interested how people respond to that.
Yeah. Well, I'll give you an update.
Awesome.
That might be something for you too, Zenzi. I know you're kind of in the middle of it, and it might be a little, more like slower pace, but I love what Crystal said, like show them that change is good. Was there an increase in membership, like just, hey, let's try this. Because I was reading something, I can't even remember what it was recently, but it said, if you're going to fail fast, so try something, and if it doesn't work, move on,
Well, and
so that,
that's what we told them. I mean, like right now we did a social event. It's a hockey event. And I'm like, we do the same as social events every year. We're trying to draw in younger cams because I really feel like right now in our industry, especially here in Northeast Florida, the management companies are struggling to find cams. All of the older ones are retiring. The new ones are just like, they're not cut out for it. So I'm like, CAI is a perfect resource to add some mentorship, do a buddy system. And I'm like, I'm almost 50, so I consider myself to be of the older group. And, I'm like, whereas my demographic may not want to go out on a Friday night, like that's what 20-something-year-olds do. And so this hockey event is on a Friday night, and we had so much pushback from the board. I just couldn't even believe it. They were like, well, no, at the end of the week, people just want to go home. And I'm like, not if you're 20. At the end of the week on a Friday, you want to go out and have drinks to decompress. And I was like, here's the thing, guys. The deposit is nominal. So how about we just try it? And if it doesn't work, then we say we tried it and we don't do it anymore. But I'm like, everybody is not at a stage in their career where they can leave during the middle of the workday for an hour program, which if you factor in travel is 3 hours out of your day, or that they can leave early, 3 or 4 o'clock to attend a work event during the week. So let's just try it, and they were like, and I kind of got everybody on board, or I got the majority of the board on board. And so we're moving forward with it. But our social committee, and I was like, listen, we've got to get the word out. The other thing is, we get a lot of pushback from our business partners that where our events are business partner heavy, where our chapter is business partner heavy. And I'm like, I'm pushing things out on social media for the chapter, which we hadn't done previously. But it's incumbent upon all of us to invite the managers and the volunteer leaders that we work with to our events. I'm like, I don't know everybody that you're in business with, homeowner boards that I don't have access to. Invite them, share our social media posts on your social media so that we can reach a broader audience. Like, it can't just be on the board to try to get the word out about what we're doing. And if you're not happy that there's so many business partners in attendance, then invite your business, your managers, your leaders that you don't see coming. And so, yeah, I'm trying to figure out a way to kind of drive that home every month at our monthly program and to remind our business partners, please repost. Please invite, the associations that you're in business with that you don't see here. That's the only way that we're going to get them here so that they see what the value is and we get them to become members. So that's also been, a challenge and a struggle, which I've been on the board for a couple of years. But I wasn't as involved as I am this year as the president, and maybe I wasn't even as invested this year until I, kind of saw where we were with our strategic planning that you did with us, Emily, to see like how our chapter is made up. And I'm like, we can't obviously sustain doing this because there's no return on investment for our business partners if all we have is business partners.
Right. Yeah.
We kind of have the same, dilemma, because we've had business partners this year that have opted out simply because there's no return on their investment, because when they go to a lunch or an event, there's very few CAMs there and they're preaching to the same people, and it's, it's kind of their peer group. So
May I ask a question of both of you? With you guys, do you have, I'm sorry, I don't have a filter and I don't know how to do political correctness. So I'm just gonna spit it out there. We dealt with, over the years that I've been in CAI, and I've been in this chapter here for about 12 years, I believe 12 or 13. And one thing that I heard from the get-go was, oh, we don't want to go there. They poach our managers. And so that was a big drawback for a lot of the managers coming in. Their executives, the one that I worked under when I first started, that's all I ever heard. And they were cutting down all the other management companies, and I'm cut from a different cloth. I'm kind of like, we're all in the same industry. I'm not going to go after you. I'm not going to be cutthroat. There's enough business for all of us. And so if a manager is going to leave, they were already looking to leave, period. So I have befriended managers from all the management companies that attend our meetings, for the fact that I want them to know you're not in this fight alone. And it took me a minute to do that because, when you first come in, you're new and stuff, you are kind of listening and you're like, wow, I didn't realize it was like this. And you're a little scared, or I was a little scared and wouldn't do anything. But then the true me came out, and I'm kind of like, crap on that. I'm going to start talking to people. And I started talking to the other managers, and then little by little, I reach out to other managers that are with other companies and say, hey, I hope you're going to be there. So it's building those relationships, not just with the vendors. It needs to start with the vendors, encouraging, like you said, to invite their managers in. They can't blame it fully on the board. It's their fault as well. Get involved. I invite my vendors to CAI. If I have a new one, I'm going to invite them in. That's how we bring in new vendors. So vendors need to be reaching out to the managers they're working for, and they need to push their managers to be there. So it's just as much on them. We held a panel, I believe about 5 years ago, and it was a mixture of business partners and managers. And I really thought that kind of opened the door a little bit, because it was like, okay, vendors, what do you want from the managers? Okay, managers, what do you want from the vendors? And that opened up a ball of communication there. And I felt like that was a door opening for the managers, number one, to see. You can't just go, I need you to go fix this. Okay, where is it at? What is it? you know, what part of the property or building is it located, you know, more information's needed. So they open their side. But that's just my thought on it. I think the vendors need to be doing a lot of the reaching out as well, not just throwing that off on someone else.
Yeah, and we got a little bit of that. I heard a little bit of that poaching dynamic. And what I just said to them is, listen, you know, you're telling me that this was the concern in the past. And perhaps it was, but in this day and age of LinkedIn and social media, if somebody wants to steal your manager, they can just find them online and steal them. They don't have to
Absolutely.
come to a CAI meeting to do that. So I was like, you know, maybe that was true once upon a time. I don't think that that is the case anymore.
Mhm.
And then what I've asked for our past president's council is that they set up a meeting with all of the executives for our local management company so that we can do a lunch and we can say, how can we help you? How can we encourage you to encourage your managers to attend our programs and your board members to attend? And how can we help you retain the talent that you have? Because I know that's a problem, because obviously, you know, as a builder, I'm hiring management companies to manage our communities. And I see these new CAMs hop from company to company to company, and then ultimately out of the industry.
Right.
So I think a lot of times, you know, and I just tell my own story. When I started 18 years ago, I had a legal and a real estate background, but I didn't know anything about HOA management. And so I was so thirsty for knowledge and, you know, camaraderie with other people that were doing the same thing. And we didn't have a chapter here. All we had was the Orlando chapter. So I'm like, this is a great opportunity, especially for those young CAMs who don't want to go to their bosses because they don't want to ask a dumb question, or they don't want to go to those senior managers because they always seem so busy and you don't want to bother them. You know, this is just an opportunity for them to ask those questions in their peer group and be comfortable doing it, and, you know, and make some friends, learn some things. So that's one of the things, like I said, I've asked our past president council to do, is organize that meeting so we can get those execs in and say, how can we help you? And how can we get you to encourage your CAMs to attend?
That's great. Kathy, you have your hand up.
Yeah. So something that we've done here in Illinois, I'm a business partner. Something that we've done here in Illinois, we started it a few years ago, is a business partner council to add value.
You're muted. I'm not sure. Go ahead.
No, I know, it said the host muted me.
Oh, okay. I don't know. I muted. There was some sound coming from you, Juanita, so I just muted you, but it must have muted you, Kathy. So.
I think we did it at the same time.
Oh, did we?
Emily,
Okay.
and
okay.
somehow maybe it tripped it because I was like, wait, I pushed.
Sorry, guys. Our fault.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Kathy.
No problem. So we realized here in Illinois that, you know, we wanted to do something for our business partners to add value to the business partner membership. Obviously, the cost of the business partner membership is more than, you know, the other memberships. We ask them for sponsorships. They do attend so many of our events, and we were like, well, what can we do to add value to that membership? And so we came up with this business partner council, and interestingly, it is it's co-chaired by myself and by a woman by the name of Cindy Fitz, who on paper anyway is a fierce competitor of mine. I have my CERM, so if you know the designations within CAI, that means I'm in the insurance industry. And on paper, Cindy is one of my fiercest competitors. But off paper, she's one of my dearest friends. And it's just interesting how we are competitors, but we can co-chair the Business Partner Council and show how within CAI, like I think it was Juanita who said it, You know, we're all here for the same purpose, to kind of, you know, advance CAI. And I agree, there's enough out there for everybody. I think the other point of this is too, is that there are so many large management companies that they may already handle so many things in-house anyway. So for smaller vendors, it may be difficult to get a foot in the door in those situations. In the first place. And I don't want to discourage those business partners, those vendors. So what can we do to add value to the membership, encourage them to continue to join and keep their membership and stay part of CAI? So the Business Partner Council, we do little things, little virtual free things. We do have a zero budget at present, and we have for the last several years since we formed the council. We do little virtual events, little value added sales tips, things like that we share. Our first thing that we did was, what's your elevator pitch? And we shared little ideas on how you can sharpen up your elevator speech, you know, your little pitch that you give to people. People came out, they enjoyed that sort of thing. We have our membership, like happy hours and things like that. And let's face it, when we have these things, business partners come out and they want to meet managers. And I have been at these things time and time again and talking to fellow business partners, and they're like, I wish there were more managers here. I'm like, hey, look at it this way. And this is kind of what we're looking to also do, and the vibe we're putting out there with the business partners. What can we do to help each other? There's stuff we can do to help each other while we're sitting on the bench, if you will, waiting for the management companies or the board presidents to put us in the game. We don't have to rely solely on that. We paid the money, we're here, we're networking. There's stuff we can probably do to help each other, you know, and it doesn't have to be cutthroat. So what's the harm in getting to know how we can power partner with each other and help each other out in situations? Because although, you know, we do community association insurance is my specialty, I have people within my agency that do other types of commercial insurance that, you know, if someone had a referral for that, I could maybe refer to someone else in my agency. So there's ways to also encourage people to get to know their fellow business partners on different levels and figure out how they can help people. You know, just because you do painting or asphalt or plumbing, and yeah, you really want to get into community associations, you might just as easily be able to paint walls in an office building as you can in a community association common hallway. And maybe there's opportunities that you might not realize by getting to know a fellow business partner on a different level. And so we're trying to promote that and make it not such a, don't walk into a room full of business partners or walk into an event and look at it like, wow, there's only one or two managers here, this is a bust. Look at it like, hey, this is still a really great thing. I'm here with a bunch of people from CAI. We all kind of, you know, we know we want to, ideally, it would be a dream come true to be that go-to for that management company, that manager, that board, whatever. But there's still opportunity here. This is still the place to be. At the end of the day, this is the place to be. This is the place where we want to continue to be and volunteer. And then the people are wonderful. And just to continue to promote the benefits of CAI, and that there are value addeds there for the business partners. And so we approach it from that standpoint. We went for the golf outing. Cindy and I were there last year. early on, and we had free mulligans and balloons and stuff we were tying on the carts for the EBPs, the people that earn the educated business partner, to promote that designation within CAI and encouraging business partners to go ahead and get that designation, drum up conversation. Hey, why do you have a balloon and what's that all about? What's that card about for the educated business partner? So we've been trying to do little, our part to make the business partners feel some love and make them feel, even if they're not always getting a room full of property managers, that still keep coming out, still renew those memberships, still tell your, if you do have fellow business partner vendors, that CAI is worth joining and being a part of. Come out for the expos, join, be part of the expos. It's still the place to be, and there's something to be had, even if you're it may take a minute to get involved in with a management company, that there's still much to be had and value there for your membership. So
Yeah.
I
Thank
hope
you
that
for-
helps a little bit, because
Yeah.
we've had some good success with it. And I think that we have seen a lot more camaraderie amongst our business partners.
Thank you for that perspective, Kathy. I think as the only business partner on the call today. So, because that's an important perspective. You said, how can we help each other? But like when I was CED, I would encourage, like, if someone, a business partner came to me and says, there's no business partners, there's no managers here, not a lot of managers, I would say, well, what can we do? Do you have any suggestions? Are you willing to help us? And kind of, encourage them to help, because if they're part of that solution and bringing managers to the group, they're going to be the hero, so really, kind of flipping the lens for them, like, hey, I could use you to help, when they come to you complaining about it. So I've used that approach as well.
Yeah, and that's also a great idea. And I think, well, here in Illinois, there's been that trend towards larger, you've got and I know they're all over, right? We all have, your Real Manage and Associa and First Service and the larger, management companies that maybe have some in-house for maintenance and even insurance and things like that. So it may be a little bit more challenging for, some of the business partners to develop the relationships they seek with those management companies. But there's like I said, there's still relationships to be had and forged. And let's face it, people also move around in this business. How many times have you developed a relationship, a friendship with somebody, and you never know where it's going to be, where it might be. And Emily, we just had this, right? It's Kathy.call@ where.com, when you're going to email someone, that person might be with a different company. You never know what that opportunity might be. So it's always good to just keep those relationships open and going. You never know who you might meet, who they might know, and where that in an opportunity might be. And, so it's been fun, just trying to bond with fellow business partners, and it has been a lot of fun. And it's been interesting flipping that, like you said, flipping the lens, flipping that narrative, instead of walking into a room and seeing them go, there's not as many managers as I had hoped, or having one or two managers in there and having everyone like kind of descend on them, but being able to say, hey, what did you say you do? Oh, I know someone over here. I think you should meet. I think you could maybe work well together, and making those introductions. And if you have a couple key people working together like that on your behalf in those business partner situations, to make those introductions and possibly make those connections for those possible power partnerships, it can add that value for the business partners too. So that's my
Good stuff.
4
Thank you,
cents.
Kathy.
I'm going to descend from my soapbox now.
Thank you for sharing.
So,
Anyone else? Go ahead, Tom.
so one of the things that I see, and I'm speaking for me, I'm not speaking for anyone else, but it seems in our chapter that free is good from a manager's perspective. And we had a Christmas party last year, and a big thing, it's the biggest, fanciest one we've ever had as long as I've been involved. And the we weren't getting any managers. The few, it's the typical few that always show up to everything. But some of the business partners went out and bought tickets, and then it suddenly became free to the managers, and all of a sudden we have these new managers that usually don't show up to things. They showed up, so that's a good thing. We started kind of doing free lunches, and we're now doing a breakfast meeting where it's free to the managers, and we're getting a little bit more participation from the managers, but it seems free is good. But one of the things we have here, and Emily, you might be able to expand on this from your term, but we're very, very large area wise. I mean, we go from basically the Big Bend of the Florida Panhandle all the way to Alabama line north, and the Gulf of Mexico to the south. So we have 3 locations that we try to get out to outreach to do lunches and stuff, but it's time consuming for the managers to drive 30 or 40 miles and eat lunch for an hour and then go back in the middle of their day. So they just don't go. I mean, I get it. I'm blessed because I have flexible time and I can go, but you know, when you're a portfolio manager and you've got everybody ringing your bell and you got to do this and you got to do that to drop it all to go to lunch and come back and pick it up again, it's just sometimes it don't work. Breakfast might start happening and making that a little better because that's the first of the day. They haven't done anything, and now they can go off and go to work with a full belly on somebody else's dime, and that's always good. So we'll see how that works. But I just think, you know, I think Zindy was mentioning the generational thing, and the nothing against age, but the older folks, you know, they get it, they go and they do, but the younger ones, they don't see it sometimes the same way. And I think if we could find a way to bridge those 2 gaps and say, you know, look, generation, this is how we see it, and our generation says, well, this is how we see it. Is there somewhere in the middle that we can meet to make this work for everybody? You know, that might be something we could focus on. I don't know, but.
Well, so at least it's coming on mute. Hopefully she's going to give a plug for
I am,
Okay,
and I'm about to put it
yeah.
into the chat too. So I was gonna say,
Yeah.
Tom, we are doing, and I meant to bring this up with Zinzi mentioned it as well. We are going to be hosting a chapter knowledge series on generational disconnects. And me and Grace were hoping to dive into communication styles and what the different generations, the expectations, and how they can come together and what it looks like in our industry. That's going to be on April 16th. I'm going to put the link into the chat now. So you can register chapter staff. If you have other leaders which chapter, feel free to join. We're hoping it benefits you all because it seems to be coming up more and more across the board. So we saw that this would be something that could be really helpful.
Yeah, and I think that's great because it's funny because we had we've got our environmental services manager or supervisor is this retired Army gruff guy, and he doesn't have a lot of his age peers that work for him, but he's got 6 of several other generations that work for him, and they cannot get on the same page as far as communication. I mean, they don't understand what go to work means. If you say, hey, go to work, they don't get that part. You have to, you know, my filter's off, so just hear me for what I'm saying. You have to sugarcoat that go to work, and they don't get it. And one of the guys that works for him told his director, he says, look, he might have sat through some class like you're talking about, Alicia, I don't know, but he said, maybe we all need to sit down with you guys and say, you know, this is how we hear things, because it's different than how you say things, but we're doing the same thing. So I thought that was kind of neat for him to offer that, that was pretty good. So. But
I'm not happy that you all have to deal with that, but I'm happy that this is going to be something that'll hopefully be relevant. So
absolutely, absolutely. I'm looking forward to it. I got it on my calendar.
Well, it's such an opportunity for us to learn from each other too, the different generations to learn, because there's so many positive things about both, so if we can learn from each other and how we can work together on the way we think, us
Yep.
millennials and us, well, even the generation below us
I
too.
don't even know which one it is now, X, Y, Z. So.
Alicia's gonna tell us, so you
I
come
have a
on.
nice chart and everything. It breaks it down. We're really excited about it. We're even going to explain who Generation Alpha is. They're not in the workforce, don't worry. Just have to worry about Z and up.
I mean, that's my kids.
Listen,
Yes,
I feel like I'm in the
Oh.
best generation. I'm X. We're
Same, Zenzi, me too.
See, and as a millennial, I beg to differ.
You're the original Pharaoh children. Like we had the "Do you know where your children are" commercials. Like our parents had no idea what was going on.
I feel like we have enough cynicism too to keep us balanced,
Yes.
and Gen X. So
Well,
That's
I'm a
funny.
baby boomer, so we had the best music. That's all I can say.
hey, there's that.
Well, there is that. That's for
This
sure.
is good content for my webinar.
I love it. If you can't make it, it'll be recorded too. So we'll make sure that we share that with you. Anything else? We've got just a little bit of time left. Anything else you all want to talk about?
I'd like to just kind of go back what they were talking about, getting the, Kathy was bringing up about the business partners and teaming them up. That is something I kind of push a lot with vendors. For me, you get insurance agents with attorneys, because typically if you have something coming up and maybe there's a claim or maybe there's somebody talking about a lawsuit, you're going to be intertwined with those two anyway. And so I kind of build partnerships up between those and I get them on the same page and those two get to talking. If I have a pool company and you have a pressure washing company, a lot of times, throw those together. You have a tree company and a landscaping company, and the landscaping company, their part of their scope isn't doing all the tree work or, going up past 12 foot like here. If it's beyond 12 foot, then they have to pass it off or, to an arborist. So to me, that seems to work really well, partnering up your business partners. And I've been very fortunate this year that I have younger people on the board. I am in the older generation, and for me, I want it to be about the younger ones. They're the ones that's going to take over. And you want them to hear your side and you need to hear their side. And one of my board members, she's 28, and we just hit it off, and it's been wonderful. And the events that we're trying to pull together is to be attractive to both sides. You're never going to please everybody, but I think when they see that you've got the two different generations working together, it does make a difference because you've got the younger one going out talking to the folks that they can relate with, which they hit everyone, not to say that they're not, but they encourage those younger ones, man, you wouldn't believe what we're about to do. And the older ones, man, you ought to come out and see, this is going to be totally different, and just switching it up seems to be a big thing. And she's been very good about going out and asking managers, why they're not participating, and brought up some of the reasons why. And I said, when she reported it to me, I told her, I said, well, what they're saying are valid things because of what they hear and what they think, because of what others say. And they're not going to the CAI meetings with the right attitude. they're kind of going in for a free meal. That's it. And I said, and I did it. And I said, until you go in and change your attitude, and really pay attention, because they said they weren't getting any educational value. Sometimes we'll have the sheriff coming in, and they think, so what value do you get from the sheriff? Well, when I started sharing with my communities what the sheriff shared with us at that meeting, their ears perked up, because that was like in their community. They wanted to hear it. But as a manager, at first I was kind of like, well, what is that helping me in my job? I had the wrong attitude. And she came back at me and she was like, I never even thought about it. She said, I don't think the managers think about it that way. So a lot of this is going to have to do with helping people revisit their own attitudes toward the luncheons, the speakers, and also stepping up and becoming engaged. Until you get engaged, none of it's really going to be as important to you as it should be.
Good point, Juanita.
I do have a quick question. Does anyone here on the call have a young professional group or committee? I'm trying to get a charter, or at least a starting point to do a charter for us.
Cynthia, I can get you a couple samples. We also had a young professionals call the other day, a couple weeks ago, for those who had were you on there?
No, I missed it.
Okay.
But it's recorded, right?
It's recorded, so we'll be sending the recording out with the weekly email, and so you'll have that. But I can get you some samples of young professional charters. So we have one chapter who has a young professional task force. So they have a little bit more flexibility, like they started it kind of at a short-term thing to see if it was going to work. And then they're going to develop it into a committee. And then we have other chapters who have a full-blown young professionals committee. So
yeah, the task sounds like probably, look, since I'm making all of these changes, I might want to start slow.
Yeah, so I'll get information on both for you.
All right, thank you.
Go like the bull in the china shop. Don't hold back.
I normally am, and I'm like, I have to.
I always tell my chapter executive directors, like, it's like you're on this ship. And if you start turning it too fast and you don't give people direction, you're going to throw everyone off and make them seasick, So I tell new chapter executive directors, take it a little slow so you don't get everyone seasick. Although sometimes you just need to come in and shake things up because they just need to change. There are those times. You just have to, use that discernment, which I know you have.
Yeah, you got to shake the cobwebs out.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tom, we have a new CED as well who has come in from outside of the industry, and he's been great with, just bringing in a different perspective. And I think that's been helpful as well with trying to get those who are a little bit more reluctant to do things differently to kind of see it's not just me saying, hey, maybe we should try something different, because he has a different perspective as well from, another industry where he played a similar role. So that's been really helpful.
Yeah, I think we had a lot of seasick folks when our new one stepped in. So, but the seas are calming. I hope anyway. So
everyone's getting messy. Love it. Awesome. Well, thank you guys for joining us today. I really appreciate it. Thank you for the really good discussion, really rich discussion, lots of different topics.